Alrighty, welcome everyone to this episode of SNEED-CAST. Today we're here with Jake Karls, the co-founder to Midday Squares. We're going to be talking about the entrepreneurial journey and the brand building experience behind building up Midday Squares. I'm your host Alexa, and we're here with our VP of Sales and Marketing, Ken. So let's kick it off, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Alexa, and Jake. Thank you for joining us and taking some time out of your busy day. Quick, just a highlight of some highlights on Jake for our audience. As Alexa pointed out, he is the co-founder of Midday Squares, an up-and-coming chocolate giant out of Canada. Co-founder with his sister and was it your brother-in-law, I believe, Jake? Yep. Forbes 30 Under 30, 2024 Entrepreneur of the Year finalist in Quebec, guest lecturer at multiple universities, and a bachelor's in financial economics from Western University. So, did I miss anything there, Jake? Anything else I need to plug for you?
No, that I'm also just a good time.
Okay, there we go. Yep. No, I definitely believe that. No, that's awesome. So, Jake, again, thank you for coming in and joining us here. I think we'll just kind of set the stage by, just this. How did this get started? I know it was about 5 years ago now, maybe, where you guys got going and making chocolate bars, I believe, in your sister's kitchen. So if you can maybe just kind of take us back to that origin, that spark, and then we'll kind of start from there.
Yeah. So fired up to be here and grateful for you guys giving me a voice and wanting to share the story and getting a little, deep with us. But Midday Squares actually started, longer than 5 years ago. And the reason why I say this is my sister was making this chocolate snack, a version of the Midday Square, which we'll get into a little later. But she was making a version of this, in 2015 or 2016 for her husband, my brother-in-law, who was eating, all kinds of, high sugar chocolates in the afternoon and getting tired after. He was feeling, exhausted. He didn't feel good when he would eat them. And she's like, her being a foodie, she's like, I'll make you something that's cleaner, healthier, that tastes good, but also has like a little bit of protein. It's made with plant-based ingredients. And she did it, and they did it for years. And he would bring it to his office all the time, and his coworkers and colleagues would love this Midday Square in quotation. It wasn't called Midday Square at the time. And that was for years until he sold out of his business, and she ended up closing her business that she had. And they wanted to work together on something. And food was something that they were both very passionate about. And they were looking for products, consistently looking for data, products, all this stuff, and couldn't find anything. And then my brother-in-law stumbled upon a data report that showed that like dark chocolate was growing, very fast year over year, and that plant-based proteins was also growing fast year over year. And my brother-in-law, being a data guy, he's a software engineer by trade, he's like, hey, Les, you are making a baby of these two massive growth categories. That thing that you make, that square chocolate square, is literally dark chocolate made with plant-based proteins. So if we just combine that and make it a little bit more commercialized, this is a white space. This is going to be massive because these categories are growing at a pretty high rate year over year. And that's when they came to me and they started to commercialize the product. And they're like, hey, do you want to be our third founder? And basically build this business and make it relevant and get people's attention. And that was my job. It was to make noise, build fans, and build a community around Midday Square. And today, 5.5 years later, we launched it in August of 2018. So almost 6 years, actually, six years in like 15 days from now. We've come a long way. We've built our own manufacturing plant here in Canada out of necessity. It wasn't by choice. And, we're available across North America in, almost, I think, 9,500 stores. And, hopefully in the next 5 years be in 50,000, so we can get chocolate for everyone. But, we've built an amazing team of 50 plus people here in Canada. And, we sell at Target, Whole Foods, Sprouts, and a lot of Canadian retailers as well. And yeah, for us, I think what's interesting is we're building a brand that's, relevant to the consumer in the sense, not just from a product market fit standpoint, but from a standpoint of, we communicate in a very different way than most brands communicate. We share our story, the good, the bad, the ugly of building our business on social media as like a reality show where people can be part of the journey and see what it feels like to be part of a startup. And what that's done for us is build fandom. It's built this community that loves the story and wants us to win. So when they go to that grocery store, when they go to Target and they see the Midday Square out of the other 40,000 different products, they actually go and want to buy it so badly and shout about it because they're like, I'm part of this story. I'm part of them. I'm cheering them on. And we like to say we're building friends and family rather than just customers and transactions.
Wow. That was a great summary. Yeah, so it basically you almost kind of answered one of my next questions, because I know you guys describe it as a functional chocolate bar, and the recipe creation process. So I know you mentioned, I guess, that the original version that she was making at home, that that it's not exactly the same as what she was making back then. So can you talk a little bit about that process of the commercialization aspect of taking that home recipe and what it was like to try to develop it and make it something that was more commercially viable for the retail market?
Yeah, for sure. So she was making this at home, and it was literally a chocolate square that had, plant-based proteins, and it was tasty, but it was high in sugar. It was just made with home, ingredients that she had in her cabinets, right? And when we started to commercialize it, we actually worked alongside McGill University to help with some like lab testing and stuff like that. And we looked at the market, and we realized that they wanted a certain amount of protein, and they wanted high fibers, and they also wanted a clean fat source. So we used cocoa butter. And so when they started to commercialize the product, it was just a lot of research and bringing things together and then making it fit in the right calorie count, the right amount of protein, the right amount of fiber. And the whole concept of the product was to be your midday snack. So to be your 2 p.m. snack where you're craving something sweet, but want something that's a little bit more than just indulgence, but has function as well too. And the function for us was give you the protein and the fibers and the fats, that balance that actually keep you full for like 2-3 hours, right? So when you're eating midday square, you have it and you're full till your next meal, and it doesn't make you feel bloated. It gives you energy. It doesn't make you feel uneasy, which a lot of food in our world unfortunately does. And it's made with all real foods. It lives in the refrigerator because there's no preservatives. The preservative is the cold. And yeah, it's a functional chocolate bar because it's basically a chocolate indulgence with protein, fiber, and good fats. So that's the function aspect.
Yeah, that's very neat. So at what point, once you guys started, what was that? When did you guys realize that you kind of had hit the jackpot, or that there was the right recipe, but then also like getting that market reaction in the very beginning that you're heading in the right direction and whatnot?
So I think that product market fit is the most important thing for any company in the world. I think it's a given that you need to have that if you want to even have a chance of succeeding. And the secondary stuff is obviously marketing, sales, et cetera, all that jazz. That's super important as well, the storytelling. But first comes product market fit. So we knew when people tried it that they would like it. And the reason why we said that, not everyone would like it, by the way. Darker chocolate's not for everybody. It's a little bit more bitter. It's less sweet. But we knew that the people that would like this product, once they had it, they would fall in love and have it consistently, like daily, rather than just a once every 2 weeks or something like that. So the productivity would be high. And that's what happened. When we started to sell it early on in Montreal, in our local city here, literally neighborhoods, people would try it and be like, oh my God, this is like the snack I was looking for, but I couldn't try. Because a lot of the bars out there are either full of natural flavors in quotations, or added flavors, added sugars, things that don't taste real, so artificial tasting, or they don't do what they say they're supposed to do. So people's trust in the bar category has dwindled off in terms of consumer trust. So we said if we give something and deliver on what we actually promise from a flavor standpoint and from a functional standpoint, then people are going to want to keep coming back. And that's what happened. People start to try it, they start to build trust, and they start to fall in love with it. And then on top of that, the cherry on the top was we drove the rest simply by telling a great story on social media. Because people today, no matter what industry you're in, they're literally scrolling through their phone almost hours, multiple hours, maybe 5 to 10 hours a day. They don't even realize it. They're on these platforms. So we said if we can get their attention on these platforms where we can earn the trust via a story that relates to them, then we'll not only win them on product market fit, but we'll win them on the repurchase because they'll be so obsessed with the brand. So what ended up happening was we had product market fit that worked, and then a great story that supplemented the attention that kept them, not just as a customer, but hey, I want to help get this brand even bigger. So I'm gonna talk about it publicly. I'm gonna post about it on social media. I'm gonna get my friends to try it. So we start to build evangelists, and we do that still to this day. And we put a tremendous amount of resource and effort into that process. But again, the most important thing of any business is not the story. It's actually the product itself. If you don't have a good product or a great product, good luck.
Right, right. So and that's a big part of what really attracted me to following you guys. And you're the loudest of the three, certainly on social media. But like you said, that was it's kind of your part of the team.
I was actually going to jump in
Go
here.
ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Alexa.
Earlier, Jake, you had mentioned that there's a lot of good, the bad, the ugly, that you guys like to clearly, publicize that, or not publicize, but share that with your customers or with your makeshift family. How would you say, or what would you say it's like working with your family?
So building out loud, first of all, and
Mm.
or publicly, is extremely difficult because you're going to deal with trolls. You're going to you open your life up, or your personal space to to everyone, and people see it, and they can choose to judge it the way they want, and they can choose to be negative. They can choose to be positive, which most people are positive about it, but there are that negative piece, and that makes you feel sometimes bad about yourself. And if you're not confident, or you don't have the emotional IQ to deal with it, then it's very hard, right? And it's still very hard with people with high emotional IQ, but you know, so on top of that, that's a pressure. That's a lot of pressure in our own personal life, each one of us separately. Then you, on top of that, have a family part of business. So we didn't partner because we're family. And I always tell people this because because it's convenient. We partnered because my partners and I have very different skill sets. So each
Mm.
one of us complement each other's skills, meaning my brother-in-law is great at what I'm not really good at. I'm great at what my sister and brother-in-law might not be good at. So we actually combined equal a very strong tripod of skills, which make us great partners. And that being said, to protect our partnership since day one, we've been going to see a therapist every week, mostly every week in good or bad times. And what I mean by a therapist is he's literally a therapist, but he focuses on our communication and creating a zone where we have a safe environment to have very hard conversations, very difficult conversations, criticism, constructive criticism, things we disagree on. And we work through them with the same goal in mind, where we show up because we care about our partnership, we care about our family, we care about who we are as individuals, we respect each other. So every day, every time we show up together, it shows that we're committed to this partnership. And that's been for now 6 years straight we've gone. And it's probably been one of our best investments. And again, I caution people that are starting businesses to be very, very careful if they go into business with friends or family, because it's easier and you think it's better because you're comfortable with these people. But when you're in business, the amount of pressure, the amount of pain that you're going to go through changes a lot of things in a relationship. So you need to be very careful if you're going to do that, that it's the right partner, but also that you're willing to protect that partnership, whether it's therapy or whether it's through coaching, whether it's through any type of investment to the partnership to actually grow and not just stay stagnant, is critical. And most businesses fail not because of bad product. A lot of them unfortunately don't have product market fit, or capital, but it's actually because of lack of strength in partnership. So partners end up clashing, founders end up clashing, and they end up closing the businesses because of that. And ego gets in the way, tension builds. So what we did to protect that is go to therapy weekly, show up, good or bad times. Doesn't make a difference. Is that we're there to work on things and to become better leaders, better communicators, and better people.
So, talking about protecting that dynamic, whose idea was it to start going to therapy?
Definitely my brother-in-law, I think it was. He was in a past partnership where it was a very difficult partnership, very successful business, but very difficult partnership. And he made
Mm.
a promise to himself that any partnership going forward, he would work with therapy to strengthen that partnership and make sure that there's no animosity, tension that builds, and none of that stuff where, most actual partnerships have that, unfortunately. So, he was just really pro communication and pro vulnerability, being vulnerable with each other and open.
Yeah.
And it's okay to disagree. Like, we disagree a lot, three of us. We're very different types of people. We have different views on everything, like, almost everything, to be honest with you. But one thing that we're very aligned on is that we show up for each other, we love each other, and we're there to make this partnership work at all costs necessary.
Absolutely. Now, and then also, so kind of going into like the storytelling and the brand building and everything else, the idea to literally just bear it all. Like even the conversation about therapy, which I think is truly great that you guys share it, because it just it opens up for everybody else's point of view to say, oh, this is okay to do this, as opposed to with mental health and therapy, the old way of thinking is that there's a lot of negative connotations around it. So I love the fact that you guys are so open about it. But was there any trepidation, hesitation about what are the limits in terms of share? This we're sharing the entire journey. How are you able to set those boundaries on? I'm certain there's still some things that remain behind closed doors, but how do you end up as a team agreeing on how much to share and how little to share, and kind of come up with that?
So that's a phenomenal question. So my partners are introverts and I'm an extrovert, and that there's no better than one better than the other. Both have its pros and both have its cons potentially. But um, when we started, my pitch to them was literally, we're going to document and share the journey because that's our way of standing out. That's our way to actually, again, make people feel closer to the brand or emotionally connected. And my partners, first said, absolutely not. They said, we're not showing our life on camera. We're not posting anything. We don't post much on our social media anyways. We use it for like a news source and getting information and all that stuff. Well, I said to them, then I can't join. And they said, the only way that we do this and commit to trying this, content creation or whatever you want to call it, strategy, is if you come to therapy. And for me, the therapy originally wasn't something I wanted to do. I thought I was the happiest person in the block. And I thought that going to therapy meant, I was naive, excuse me, being naive at the time. But I thought therapy meant that you're depressed, unhappy, lesser
Right.
of. And today I'm the exact opposite. I'm a huge advocate for therapy. So I've come a long way. And we both agreed at those times that I would go to therapy with them. And if I did that, then they would put themselves on camera and try their best to share that story. And, now they're very comfortable. 5.5 years later, they're extremely comfortable sharing. And it was one of the greater decisions. And then one of the greater decisions for me was to go to therapy in my life. That was one of my best decisions I've made over the last 5.5 years. But from a standpoint of what we share, we won't share everything. We will share a great amount of the behind the scenes of how we build this business. Again, the good or the bad will be shown, and even the ugly. But we're very careful to not cross certain things. And we decide, at the end of the day, what we want to show or what we don't want to show. And we're very conscious of the exact stuff that goes on. And for us, again, we won't show things that aren't relevant to the business itself. So we might show a therapy session, but it has to tie back to the business. We show my wedding proposal, but that's because my partner, my wife, is basically our silent fourth partner, and without her, I wouldn't be here. So we always tie it back, right? So that's the limit. If it doesn't have to do the business, we don't post it.
Absolutely. And you guys have obviously hit the nail on the head. You've figured out the right mix. Like you said, you guys do. You've created this brand, this emotional connection with your consumers and customers that, like you said, they go to the store, they want to buy the product because it's their way of rooting for you. It's their way of helping to build up on that. And we had every week in our marketing meeting, I always like to bring up, marketing case study or something, little thing for us to watch. And one of my favorite brand building case studies of all time is Red Bull. Red Bull, all of their marketing and advertising, they never talk about the drink, the product itself. In fact, even the early testing, most people don't really like the product, but just through their brand building and storytelling, all their marketing dollars are spent on anything but the actual product. And they've created this lifestyle, branding around, and you guys are doing something very similar and have been extremely successful. Where was I going with this now? No, either way, it's just a really great strategy. I'm curious, you guys are also very big and bold and confident in very good ways. So I love the fact that from the very beginning or very early on when I started following you, you guys have big ambitions to be the #1 chocolate company in the world, and you don't shy away from that. You're not afraid of Hershey's, you're not afraid of Nestle. And then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that has also led to maybe some legal challenges from some of these. Okay, how much, if any, are you able to share us a little bit about what that was like to go through and kind of what challenges that presented for you guys?
Yeah, listen, being bold and wild and crazy and having conviction is super critical. And for us, if we have the time and energy, then we believe we could get to the top over the next many years. But it will take a very long time. And yeah, we had some feud, with some of the big organizations, but we're fans of all theirs. That stuff's in the past. But the idea is look, when you're bold and you're crazy and you're a disruptor, you're going to run into some things. You're going to run into people that don't like you. You're going to run into people that groups that don't want you to win, and it's going to create roadblocks, right? And at the end of the day, for us, we've had tremendous roadblocks, and we continue to have them, and we continue to get blocked in certain areas. And there's two ways to look at it. It's saying, oh shit, this sucks, or okay, this is not great, but what can we do? What are we going to do? What are we doing to go around this? What are we doing to fight this? Or is it worth it? Is it not worth it? And I think that for us, we just have that conviction, and that conviction has led us on a path that, as long as we're moving forward, that's all that matters. And one step at a time. But right now, we don't even look 10 years ahead. We have a 3-year game plan ahead, and we're focused on getting that and achieving that. And then we'll look at what's next. What's the next, 3 to 5 years look like, and what's the next 3 to 5 years. But for us, the more bold we are, we realize the more it creates fans, but the more it also creates people that don't like you and organizations that don't like you. So there's like this like pro and con. It's like a seesaw.
So, talking about going up against some of the bigger players in the industry, I know that Ken a while back had showed us the diss track that you guys had. And since you did mention that your partner or that your partners are introverts, would you say that that whole idea was orchestrated by you?
No, I actually, yeah, they are. They're not. It was actually orchestrated by my sister. She's wild. She's wildly creative too, and yeah, she's bold as sin. To be honest with you, and it was her. It was actually her idea. And yeah, like, look, we love creative stuff. At the end of the day, like, we're on this journey to have a good time. We're on this journey to spread good energy, spread good vibes. That's our mission, is to show the world that you could also win by being unapologetically yourself. And what I mean by that is, if Midday Squares can stand for something, other than being a good chocolate bar company, I think it would be like, be bold, be yourself, unapologetically. And if Midday Squares wins at in the long term at a very high level, and whatever you define winning as or success as, then we'll have shown the world that we did it by not following this traditional path, that we created our own path. Similar to Red Bull, they created their own path and their huge success. And if you look at every large organization, or even small, medium, they had to start somewhere with something that was slightly different, or a path that was slightly non-traditional. But I find more and more in our society, we push people to be traditional in the same path, which is not good. The conformity and the herd mentality is actually not something that is it doesn't stimulate creativity or innovation. It actually stimulates a lot of the same thing. So for us, we're trying to be that brand that shows, look what we could try to do, whether we fail or succeed, burn or crash. We always burn, crash, or fire up, like a firework. We'll at least have done it by being true to ourselves. And these are examples like the diss track, et cetera, that is us, following our gut and being bold.
Absolutely. Another thing you mentioned earlier about just spreading positivity and spreading energy. One of my favorite things you do is your dance off with your friend Stuart. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of what was that? I imagine, was that just kind of a random thing that happened one day, or kind of how that got going? And I just love that there's just so much positive, the smiles. It's so uplifting seeing that every once in a while, and just, yeah, it's just really, really cool little thing that you have going with Stuart. I can't help but follow those posts every time they come up.
Yeah, Stuart's one of my favorites in the industry, and the reason being is Stuart was, I met him through, early on. This retailer, Marche Tao, was one of our first, independents that took a chance on us. They have 6 stores across Montreal and the island of Montreal, and they took a chance, and the owners got behind us and said, we're going to give these 3 entrepreneurs a chance, and we're going to give them shelf space, and we're going to believe in them. And one time when I was delivering product, I met this guy Stuart, and he was stocking the shelves, and he cared so much. He was so passionate about his job. And when you see someone so passionate about what they do, it creates this energy that you want to be around. You're attracted to that energy, and we started chatting and then joking around and making, laughing, having a good time. And then we realized that, we both like dancing. And so one day we made a dance. I think it was like 4 years ago. And then we filmed the dance, and we're like, oh, maybe people will like this, because like it's so funny. Like, it was literally us, like, literally jiving. And then now it's become a weekly thing where I still hand deliver the goods to that company, that store in particular, to go hang with him. No one else gets hand deliveries. We obviously have logistics that do it and all that stuff. But I go almost weekly. As long as I'm in town, I travel a lot, but as long as I'm in town, I go to hang out with him, and we do our dance offs. And everyone's talking about it. And now actually Stuart started his own social media, and he's actually manages our account. He buys for Midday Squares, and he takes care of our entire account with that store, which is so fascinating. So we've created a very great bond. And he's just the nicest guy in the world. When you go meet him, he's a ball of energy. He's been on the radio, I think, now, and all this stuff. He's a celebrity, in my opinion, and people across North America know him. And I always tell people that visit Montreal, go see Stewart and just feel this guy's energy, because when you go near someone's energy like that, you just feel like you could win in life, you could take over, and you appreciate the positivity and the just the genuineness then that I believe the world's lacking right now. So Stewart is the legend. Check him out. Check him out on my videos. Check him out on his, I think it's called Crazy Stewart Instagram or something. That's his
Oh,
account.
definitely.
You got to follow him. He's wild.
Awesome. And speaking of energy, not to discount your own self, Jake, you also have a lot of energy and positivity just exuding from you. So, kind of, where do you draw your inspiration and your energy from? And then also tied into that is kind of a second part to the question, because you've also been very open about some of your own mental health struggles, anxiety, and the pressure and everything. So, it's easy for somebody on the outside to look, oh, this guy Jake, he's always smiles for miles, he's always happy, he's probably nothing ever bothers him. But of course, you're a human being like the rest of us. So like, it seems to me like you're very naturally energetic. But of course, everybody has downs and ups and downs. So how do you continue to maintain that level of energy and positivity, especially when you potentially when you're having those kind of down moments and whatnot?
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, like, I have a ton of downs, ups and downs, and like my wife's been there for me through the good and the bad and the ugly. She sees it all, and my job is to spread good energy, make people feel something deeply inside, and show that you win by being you. And that means by going on TV, making making friends in our space, giving speeches, all this stuff. And it takes a lot of energy out. So, I think last year and a half ago, I burnt out at a professional burnout, a real one. And I was injured also from my playing hockey, and it was just horrible. I was physically in pain. I was mentally in pain. And it literally took the energy out of me for it was 37 days straight where I took off work, but and did a ton of therapy, but it was basically almost a year of recovery to get back into who I am and understand who I am. And I got so lost. I lost my identity. I was just like, who am I? Like, I had zero clue. It was like the weirdest experience in my life. And I realized that, you got to recharge, just like, like something's got to be plugged in, like your computer. It's the same thing. And if you don't, it's very dangerous. You're not unstoppable as a human. Yes, we can do a lot of great things in life, and we can do a lot of things that you think are impossible. But one thing is true, is that the body will give out when it wants to give out. And it just did. And so, for me, like, my energy comes from people. That's where I get energized, when I hang with people, not being in an office, actually, which is why right now I'm in my office, but I'm rarely in the office. And the second thing is, my mental health is something I talk about, because I spread so much positivity, I also go through the negativity. And the negativity is that I sometimes feel that burnout. I feel that loneliness. And I've struggled with it for the last couple of years. And, the way I work on it now is I've done hypnosis for my anxiety. I go to therapy. I go to a ton of physios. I do everything. I try at least old things and see what works and what doesn't. And I believe that you always got to improve yourself and always got to work on yourself, whether it's professionally or in your personal life. And I'm very open about it. And there's times where, like, I always tell people, like, entrepreneurship is fun. Yes, winning awards and being on TV and, getting, recognized by some of the, the greats in the world is fascinating and so cool. But at the same time, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of loneliness, there's a lot of, sadness to the journey, because you're kind of doing something that's against all odds, and you're supposed to fail, in quotations, to be honest with you. So you feel that inside, that pain, that loneliness. And yeah, I go through it all the time, ups and downs. But again, having good people in your corner makes a huge difference. And being open and vulnerable helps too. Like, it really does. There's so many people that actually want to help you in life. If you just ask, it's the strangest thing. I used to never ask. I used to always be scared and embarrassed of what people would think of me. But then now it's like, it actually empowers you and makes you a stronger person. And yeah. And look, that's what I always tell people is just be honest with yourself, and the world's your oyster.
Yeah.
Right. Talking about helping people and making sure that you have good people in your corner, and also talking about entrepreneurship. It's obviously something that's really important to you and that you're really passionate about. We hear it as you're speaking. What's something that you're doing to promote entrepreneurship in Canada or just across the industry?
So yeah, Canada is actually going through a tremendous, downfall on entrepreneurship. Meaning, like, there's just less and less entrepreneurs. There's less and less people that want to be an entrepreneur. Our public sector jobs are up tremendously, and our private sector, our self-employment is down tremendously, which the gap has never been bigger in history. And that makes me sad, because not that I I'm against, the public sector having jobs, but it just makes me sad that people don't want to start businesses. And we're 100,000 fewer entrepreneurs than we were in 2000. I think that was the statistic that came out, which is really, really sad, because entrepreneurs, a lot of the time, small or big, whatever they do, is they're innovating and creating. And they're not only creating jobs, which is great for these local economies and the GDP, but they're also creating products or services that are really relevant, that could be exported to the world, to help people and all that jazz, and also just be a good capitalistic, community. And so for me, when I start to read this data and see all the entrepreneurs struggling to find capital, to get their businesses going, to have that support, I start to realize, hey, can I bring people together? Can I start getting this conversation at least going and make it public, where I'm not scared to kind of talk about it, and get it out there? And I start to do that a lot more. I start to post about it, be very, very, I guess the word's critical, on this current system that's going on, and how do we increase it. And I go do a lot of talks to universities, to corporations, to conferences, to encourage people to take risks. And my mission during and after Midday Squares, whatever that means, after or during, is to continuously push this idea of taking more risks here in Canada, that culture of risk. So igniting that culture and showing people that you could win by taking risks. Doesn't mean you have to make immense amounts of capital, but you could win by just taking the risk and being yourself, and not to be scared, because failure is not the end of the world. I think the definition of failure is skewed a lot of the time. Failure to me is actually something that's a privilege to go through. To be able to fail is a privilege, because you actually have a real opportunity to learn something. That's a real life opportunity to learn, and not have to necessarily go to a school for that to learn, or to you learn from that experience. So I think that's what I'm trying to do. And I will once we, whether we keep Midday Squares, or whether we sell Midday Squares, IPO Midday Squares, I don't know what will happen. When I have the financial autonomy, I plan on reinvesting that into Canadian entrepreneurs, to give them the capital to start to go off their businesses and actually build at a level that they're in the smaller phases or the medium phases, right before they get really big. Because I think that's where the capital's missing right now, is right before profitability. So I want to do that after. That's something that I'm consciously trying to do.
This has been a great conversation, Jake. Again, thank you so much. I just want to leave everybody with one of my favorite quotes from you as I was preparing for this, but you're always one decision away from changing your life. You never know what or where it is, but you should always try. I think it ties in perfectly to what you were just saying there too, about failures and whatnot. So again, thank you so much. You got fans here. We're rooting for you guys, all three of you, and love following the story and the journey that you guys are putting out there.
I appreciate y'all giving us a voice. Where are you guys based?
So we are in Houston, Texas. Primarily, we sell and ship, packaging and printing equipment for CPG all over North America. We have a growing customer base in Canada and Mexico as well. And then we have e-commerce sites in the UK and Australia. But everything ships out of here, out of our warehouse here in Texas.
I got to come visit. I come to Texas, 3 times a year, 4 times a year. I got to come.
Yeah, we're in Houston. We're just a suburb outside of Houston. We would love to have you. So just let us know next time you're in the area.
Y'all are rock stars. Thanks for giving me a voice. Like I said, Midday Squares voice. And I hope people could take away, the one thing I would like them to take away from this whole conversation is be yourself every day, and never stop working on yourself. Because that's the moment that you failed, if you stop.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again, Jake. We'll let you go, and then Alexa, she's going to do our little outro, and have a great weekend, Jake.
Thank you so much once again.
Take care, crew. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this episode of SNEED-CAST. Once again, thank you, Jake, for joining us. All of the great insights. We're sure that our customer base can truly appreciate it. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, also share, and stay tuned for our next episode of SNEED-CAST. Bye, everyone.